Okay, welcome everybody. I am going to be sharing today about how to do effective sampling. So hopefully at this point you've had the live document sent to you, which kind of tells you all the things you need to know to be able to feel confident enough to start sharing these oils. And you'd also have received the getting started document, so you'll have all the tools that you need to be able to share these oils as well. So this is kind of the first official training to help you really get going with your business. So I'm going to start sharing the screen because I have a PowerPoint for you. It helps to keep me focused as well, so it's always good. So here we go. So first of all, it's how to kind of get your business started really. You've had some theory up till now, but now you really want to get going with your business. And so what's the best way to do this? Well, obviously it's to share. And I like this picture because we're not going to be forcing anything on anyone. It's about sharing something that is as nice as ice cream. The oils are wonderful. They're incredible. And we really need to be proud to share these with others. And that's why the first part is actually kind of using the oils yourself. And that is literally the first key to success in this business, is to live the product. And so what I mean by that is by using this product on a daily basis if you can, but certainly using them as elements come up and finding those products that you can't live without, and you will find them. doTERRA do some wonderful products and the oils are just incredible. And as you use them more, your belief in them grows, your genuine passion for them is more embedded, and you actually, be able to share them a lot more freely and genuinely. And that's what this business is about. Not forcing a product, but sharing something because you believe in it and you want to help others. Okay. You also need to learn the basics of the products and the business. So that's through this training, and also the tools that you have, such as your books and things like that. And we'll go into a little bit more resources that you can use. And then the next key is literally to sample like crazy. So if you want to go quickly in this business, then you want to be sampling more. And that's really the key. So the more you sample, the quicker your business will grow. That's it. And it's not just sampling, but effective sampling. And that's what we're going to be teaching today. And of course, to attend trainings. We do team trainings every week. Your upline, if you've got a diamond upline above you, then they'll be doing their team trainings. And we really recommend you go to these trainings, even if it's the same information that you perhaps already know. And I've had many people tell me that every time they come to a training, even if it's the same kind of information, they always learn something new. And not just about learning, is it? It's about that unity as well. So coming to trainings really helps to, feel unified as a team, but also to give you that boost, because this, business is wonderful, but a lot of the time you are kind of doing it yourself. And so to join with others as well is really important. And I've seen that with those people that attend as many trainings as they can. And it's not just our team trainings, of course, but doTERRA put on trainings as well. And we have cross-team trainings, as many of it as you can go to. Obviously, you've got to get the balance right as well. If you can get to as many of these trainings, those are the people that generally I've seen succeed most in this business. Okay, the other thing you probably will be very aware of by now is that in order to collect bonuses, you need to make sure you have a loyalty rewards order in your back office showing at all times to be at least 100 PV. And we suggest 150 PV, and that will become more apparent when you do the compensation plan training. But this is so vital. If you don't have it at 100 PV, then you won't collect your bonuses. And the computer goes in randomly and checks and does the bonuses accordingly. And so you will miss out. So please, please don't miss out on your bonuses. So the first thing you want to be doing when you start this business is to learn. It feels like a steep learning curve, but actually please don't feel like you need to know everything about essential oils before you start doing this business. It really is a step-by-step process. We never come across, hopefully, as professionals. We are not professionals. We're not aromatherapists. We're not doctors. what we are people that have fallen in love with these products, we use them, we believe in them, and we want to share them and empower others to be able to use them on themselves and enable them to you know, have these natural tools in their own homes. So we don't need to know everything. And that's why we have the books that we always refer people to. So you'll be aware of the Essential Life book probably by now, and also the Modern Essentials book. And that's really what we, you know, refer people to, so they can become independent essential oil users. So when you're starting this business as well, please use these books as great learning tools for yourself. You know, get used to looking up the essential oils yourself, read the introductions. It's a really good place to get some information. And also, of course, there's doTERRA University, which I can show you actually just quickly. I'm going to stop sharing and then share screen again. And I'm going to show you a good tool here. So if you go to doterra.com, and hopefully you can see the screen now, you'll see on doterra.com there's lots of very useful things, and to have a gander at this, it's great. You can kind of look up a bit of background about the company, you know, what is an essential oil. This is a very good site source to you that we'll be referring to a few times during your training. You can also, on the source to you can literally track where every single essential oil comes from the code on the bottle. So I'll outline about that if you're desperate to know that right now. And then you can go into the testing as well, co-impact sourcing, and all these things. And then you can look up the products individually, look up co-impact sourcing in detail. But the bit I'm referring to right now is if you go into our advocates, you can see here, you can go to doTERRA University, and if you go to the living section, it will bring you to here. So you can look up here and look at these little bits of information here that teaches you the basics of what you need to know to be able to share these oils with others. So you don't need to be a professional to start sharing, is basically the point. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint now. Oops, okay. So very importantly, I need to just mention this, that in doTERRA, we don't teach that just putting on one drop of essential oil is going to solve all your problems. Obviously, there are other things, interacting factors that make a difference. And doTERRA teach this very good wellness pyramid that shows that obviously self-care is very important, our diet is important, rest, exercise, all of these things. So it's important that as we're sharing these oils, we share that message as well. Belief in personal development is a big thing with any business, but certainly in the network marketing world, like I said, you're often, you know, on your own in this, as much as you have great team support and uplines and cross lines. There'll be moments where you'll doubt yourself probably, or you'll find it hard, you know, and this is where you really need to have that inner belief to pull you through, and that's very important. So we do recommend a couple of good starting books. You may have your own personal development books, but these are vital for your success as well, I believe. The Slight Edge is a great place to start. And then GoPro, if you haven't heard of Eric Worre, he's very well known in the network marketing world, and he gives some really good tips. And yes, doTERRA has a very different feel to it that we've, you know, come to realize really that from other network marketing companies, but still it is a network marketing company, and so there are some very good tips we can take on the GoPro book. Now, doTERRA's philosophy, this is the mission statement from the core of the company. So the executives put together this mission statement, and this is really, I want to emphasize, well, us as team leaders, this is what we really do try and duplicate and share with you guys, with everybody on our team, that we want to have a similar thought pattern, a similar goal, if you like, to help others. So yes, of course, we have our financial goals as well, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But if you focus on helping others, then your business will be a success. It really will be. Okay, so on to the practical things that you can do at the start of your business then. Well, first of all, we recommend you create a list of 100 people. Now, some people say, gosh, I don't know 100 people. And you'll be surprised, if you go through your Facebook list, your phone list, and just literally brain dump. So at this point, you don't make any judgments, don't think about anything, whether they'll be into essential oils or not. It doesn't matter at this stage. Just put every single person you've ever known onto this list. And you obviously start with your warmer contacts probably, and then start going down the list until it's your postman, your cleaner, your daughter's teacher, anybody and everybody who goes on this list. And then the next step is to then give every single person on this list a ranking, out of 7. And it's to use this criteria. Now, why is it these specific things? Well, basically, one of our upline, Elise and Patrick Shedevy, they're very well known in doTERRA. They spent a lot of money doing some research amongst the whole of doTERRA. And they found that generally, the people that were the most successful in doTERRA fitted these, came into these kind of brackets, if you like. Now, not to say that if you don't fit into this, and if you're not 7 out of 7, you're not going to be successful, absolutely not. But it just is a way of just homing in on those people on your list that could perhaps be potential business people. And the reason why you want to do this at the start is because there is a strategy to the doTERRA business. Now, I've mentioned that the purpose of this is to share the oils and help others. But of course, most of us do have financial goals too. And so sharing is lovely, but we want to help you maximize your sharing so that you can make the most money out of that. And this is one of the key activities that will help you do that. Because the sooner you can find somebody else who wants to do this as a business, the better it will be for you. And that will become clearer in the compensation plan training as well. So you do this with your 100 list, and then this will help you identify the people that are scoring 4, 5, 6, 7s, the higher ends are the people you want to contact first of all. So once you've done that, you kind of get a strategy together of how you're going to contact those people. Now, my recommendation is to pretty much most times go in with the oils first. Some people you might want to go to with the business approach, and certainly people have done that and very successfully. But generally speaking, the oils do sell themselves and they sell the business too. So it's a very good idea to give someone an experience first. Now, this could just simply be a wild orange and peppermint experience where you put a drop of wild orange, a drop of peppermint on their hands and give them that experience, and then talk to them about the business. But ideally, the best way is to give somebody a sample for their specific needs. And so looking at the people that have scored the highest on your list, you can, if you know what their ailments are that they're suffering with, then you can kind of select a sample specific for their ailments. And that's your strategy of how to approach them. And you can work out when you're going to do that, but come up with kind of a strategy for your kind of top 20 people to begin with and start with them. And then go down to your next people on the list. And once you've done that with your kind of more potential business people, then start looking at those people on your list who are into natural medicine, people that will be open to the natural medicine. And certainly go straight to the ones where you can see the oil's really helping. They do have a real specific health need, then that's someone you want to approach first of all, because the sooner you can help them, the better. I'm just going to have a drink. Now, we recommend you start with 1 sample per person. And where's my sample bottle? I think it's, disappeared. But they're little tiny bottles, about this big. And you literally, I'm going to explain in the part 2 of this sampling training. So this is part 1 of sampling, effective sampling. I'll show you how to do a sample and everything, and the bottle will reappear at that point. But yeah, they're tiny little bottles, and you want to just give them 1 sample to begin with. Now, the reason being, you don't want to give people 3 or 4 samples straight away, because, in the marketing world and the sales world, it's a very known fact that, before someone decides they want to purchase something, they need anything between 5 to 8 touches, sometimes 4, but that's kind of the average amount. So if you give someone 4 samples to begin with, first of all, I don't think they'll really appreciate it. and they can be a bit overwhelmed with it. But also giving one at a time just helps you to have those more touches. So you give one sample to someone to begin with, and we recommend you choose the least expensive sample that you can. So as you get to know these essential oils, you'll come to realize that, for every element that is possible, there'll be more than one essential oil that will help with that element. And that's because nature has many answers, which is great because it enables us to find the essential oil that works best for us. But first of all, the essential oils you're going to be sampling with people are those oils that you've got in your starter pack, which is probably the home essentials kit you went for, where you have your 10 core essential oils. And they're the best oils to start with for both yourself and also for sharing with others, because it was probably explained to you that, most elements you look up in the book, one of the oils in your kit will be one of the oils recommended. So, and I'm going to go through in part 2 of sampling, which oil is the best to sample. But start with the least expensive. For both yourself, you want to make your business as profitable as possible, as soon as possible, but also you want to find them the cheapest solution as well. So they're not feeling like you're trying to get them to buy the most expensive oil as well. So those are the 2 reasons. Okay, so once you've done that, you've done your list, you've found out who you're going to speak to first, you've worked out a strategy of how you're going to approach them. And if you don't know any elements, then you can't work out the sample that you're going to give them straight away. That's fine. Just kind of, work out when you're going to next see them, or when you're going to have a conversation with them, or perhaps you're going to have a phone call with them, or invite them to dinner, or, whatever it is that you're going to do to be able to create that situation where you can give them a sample. Now, I definitely strongly recommend that this is best done either in person or over the phone when you're offering a sample. Emails, you can do emails, and people do postings on Facebook and get some success. But when you're first starting, the most successful and quickest way to get going is to do face-to-face or phone calls. And then definitely use Facebook to generate more interest and to use it as an addition. People do that very, very successfully. But to begin with, go out and do the personal touch. It's always better. So you're going to then give that sample once you've created that conversation with them and you've been able to give them a sample. Give the sample with some instructions. And you'd have been sent a sampling handout by your upline. If you haven't, then please ask for it. There's a sampling handout you can adapt if you want to. But on there's some safety instructions and also a space for you to write some specific instructions for that sample. And then so once you've given that sample, you want to follow up with them 2 days later. And this is best done again face-to-face, so personally or a phone call. Don't be tempted to just send a quick text to ask them how they've got on with their sample. Now, if they've had a good experience, which a lot of times they have, and what I mean by good experience is that the sample has worked, it's had the effect it was meant to have, then invite them to a class. This is where it's important you'll have, at least 2 dates to offer them. When you first start, we recommend you to have your 4 classes in a 2-week period to help you really get going, to help you learn quickly, and also to increase your chances of finding your first business person. So then you'll have 4 options to give them, but at least have 2 options when you're sampling so that, they have a choice to be able to go to and more chances they can come to the class. And then if they haven't had a good experience, then please don't panic at all. This does happen. The oils don't work every single time on everybody. Then just, offer them another sample. I'm just going to take you through a little bit now in a bit more detail, but that's kind of the overall summary. So you just keep offering them a sample until they've had a good experience. And that's when you really nurture them and you just do 1 sample at a time and go through the process again. So, if they don't have a good experience the first time, that can be very positive because it means they feel very much cared for. And by the time they come to a class, they're going to really, probably buy a lot more than if they hadn't had that nurturing experience. So most people who have that nurturing experience will pretty much 100% of the time purchase something. So it's not a bad thing if they don't have that amazing experience straight away. So yeah, so I'm just going to quickly go through a summary of this actually before I go to the next slide. So for example, if you're going to give a sample to somebody, you will also be sent from your upline some phrases that you can use, some just suggested phrases that I've put on there to be able to say to people when you're giving a sample, because it can be a bit tricky. But my most important advice would be is to find your natural way. So this is why it's so important that you've had good experiences yourself and you believe in the essential oils, because then almost you just can't help it. You know, if you're around someone that says they have a headache, then you're going to say to them, well, look, I've used peppermint essential oil for my headache. You know, if you're open to natural medicine, I'd love to give you a sample if you'd like to try some for your headache. And often people will be, yeah, of course, yeah, why not? So that's very easy. If people, you know, don't say they've got an ailment in front of you, which by the way is quite common if you listen, you'll notice people with ailments everywhere. But if they don't have an obvious ailment, then, you know, you get into a conversation and, you know, you ask how you're doing, and you can soon kind of turn it to how you've been using essential oils for certain things, and you can kind of see if they bite it at that point. And if not, you know, you can kind of bring it up and go, yeah, so I've been using essential oils for like a couple of weeks now, and I'm really amazed. They've actually helped me with my headache, my daughter's stomach pain, my husband's back pain. You know, just mention a few things and go, you know, they're incredible. I had no idea essential oils could do what they do. And I actually now I'm teaching about them because I'm quite passionate about them. Would you like to try a sample for anything that you suffer from? And we can see how they work with you. You know, something like that. When I first started, it was more, I was saying to my warm contacts, you know, that I've just started doing this doTERRA essential oils business where I'm amazed at these essential oils, and you know, I'm learning about what they can all do, and I'd like to learn more what they can do. Do you have any ailments that we can test them on? That's another approach as well. And so it's just really done in a very natural way where it feels very giving, rather than you pushing an essential oil on somebody. You don't ever want to feel like that. And just wait for the moment as well. Don't feel like you have to ask if you can give them an essential oil in that first meeting as well. You know, you can chat, and if it doesn't feel right to bring it up, then don't bring it up. You know, just do it naturally. Another thing I've done with kind of key groups is I perhaps find one or two of the people in the group who I think are the most influential or that have a specific ailment, and I'll work really closely with them and, you know, really help them to make sure they have a very good experience with the oils. And when they do, you really don't need to worry about sharing them with the rest of the group, because this person will do all the sharing for you, and that's wonderful. And then they'll be asking you for a class. So, you know, there are many ways of doing this to get a sample given to someone, but it's always very natural. So always when you give a sample, I recommend saying to them something like, you know, like with medications, not every single essential oil will work on everybody. And sometimes, you know, we have to try a few times to find the right essential oil for you, because the different body chemistries as well. But this, you know, peppermint is the one I think is going to work best with your headache. It's effective on most people that I know. But yeah, can I call you in a couple of days to see how you've got on with it? And we'll just make sure this is the right one for you. And also I can answer any questions you might have about it. So you've already set it up so that if it doesn't work perfectly, then they're not going to lose complete faith in essential oils. Because for most people, let's face it, essential oils is not the thing they'd put on their, you know, high medication list. Most people are not aware of them in that way. And that's what our job is, to help teach people. But it's a step-by-step process. We've got to change mindsets, haven't we? And that's why the sample is so powerful, because it speaks way louder than words that we can just tell people. But if you say that to people, then that's fine. And then also they'll be expecting that phone call. You won't be feeling pushy. Again, it's for their benefit. You're going to call them. So that's what you do, the 2 days later, the phone call. And when you call them or see them, just be very natural again and just say, you know, have you had a chance to use that essential oil yet? So they don't feel bad if they haven't. And then go with that. And like I said, if they've had a good experience, then you can go, oh, that's amazing, that's great. You know, I do, as I said, I think these are wonderful, and I am teaching classes on them, because this is just, you've had one experience from one essential oil, and there's so many more things these essentials can do for you. I think you're going to love to learn more what they can do for you and your family. And I'm teaching classes on these dates, would you like to come? So that's when you invite them. If they haven't had a good experience, as I said, you know, don't panic at all. First of all, do some inquiry to ask them, you know, did they put it on correctly? Did they use the amount that you told them to? Did they use those 3 to 6 drops, or did they just perhaps put 1 drop on? You know, that's not going to be enough. Remember, 3 drops of a little sample bottle is the same as 1 drop in the big bottles, which is why it's 3 to 6 drops when you're sampling. Sometimes they need to put it on more frequently. So they might have just put it on once, not felt the effects, and they had to actually put it on again after 2 hours. Or with certain acute things like back pain or even headaches, they might need to apply it every 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes for a short period of time. The other thing, of course, is they might need to try a different way of taking the oil. So say for a stomach pain, you can put the oil on topically, but for me, it's much more effective if I put it in some water and take it internally. So you can suggest that as well. So these are things to work with them in if they haven't had quite the reaction that they were looking for. But then, of course, this oil just might not be the one for them. And so you can come to that conclusion and offer them another sample. So go back to the book and find another oil in there that's recommended that you have. Okay? And if you don't have that oil, maybe you can reach up to your upline and see if they can send you a sample, or you can put it in your next order and you begin to collect the oils that you need that way and learn through sampling. Now, just to kind of give you a reason why you'll want to do effective sampling, and I'll explain a little bit about this, that before we did effective sampling, we just did sampling, okay? So we have always done sampling from the beginning of our business, but not always effectively. And what I mean by that is we've given a sample and not followed up properly. So we haven't made sure they've actually had a good experience before coming to the class. And also, some people who have come to classes, we haven't even given them a sample. We've just invited them to a class. And that is okay, but actually it's more time consuming in the long run, because you put aside this time to do classes, you can invite 20 people, and if they haven't been sampled, the likelihood of them signing up is very, very slim, okay? Whereas if they've been given a sample specific to their needs, you've followed up with them, you've cared about them, you've made sure it was worked for them, and then invited them to a class, then the percentage of people that will purchase is much, much higher, as you can see from this slide. So it's 30% if they haven't been effectively sampled will sign up, compared to 80% if they have. So it's totally worth your time, because once people have come to a class, it's very hard to then backtrack and get them sampled, if that makes sense. You know, you lose people a lot more that way, because they've already kind of lost hope. They've had the big bang from the class, but it hasn't properly had the impact it would have done if they'd been sampled. So it's very important you do that. And just to give you a kind of a real overview of the consequences of not sampling like that, is to get to elite, which is your first kind of main rank in doTERRA. It's a good rank to get to, really good rank, which is when you have 3,000 overall volume underneath you. So people underneath you are spending 3,000 volume in oils. And remember, 1 PV, which is when we talk about the volume, is $1. So let's say £2,800. Excuse me again. And to get to that point, which people can get to in a month, people can take a year to get to, but you can get there very quickly. You'd have to do 30 classes if you don't sample, as opposed to only 4 classes if you do sample. And that's based on the stats, you'll get 10 people to each class, okay? So it's very important. Please, please learn from our mistakes and do effective sampling when you're inviting people to classes. So with your first contact, remember, you know, you're doing them a favor, so please don't be desperate. As I said, don't be salesy or pushy, meet their needs. And remember, the oils are the messenger. The oils is what's doing the selling for you. So you really don't have to do very much selling. Just share your genuine passion. People will feel that. And if you are nervous, Obviously you will be a little bit at the beginning, but I often find that's when I'm focusing on me and what they're going to think of me. And, you know, if you're putting their needs first, like they've got this element that you really hope the oils will help with, you know, you're just giving to them, then it's all good. You're not going to feel nervous. So yes, you think who you can help today. And here's just a phrase here that you could use. I've kind of covered this already, so I'm just going to go through this. So yes, as I mentioned, I was a bit ahead of myself, wasn't I? That you explain the similarity between medications. And again, the percentage that they found from doing all this research, if you don't say that, then 50% of the people you sample will not come to a class either, because like I said, they'll lose belief in the oils and it's very hard to then give them another sample sometimes. And I've covered this, so yeah, just checking if they've had a good experience yet and invite them to your classes. So yes, if they haven't had a good experience, then ask discovery questions, and then perhaps you need to give them another essential oil if none of those solutions work. And then when you come to the class, to ensure your class attendance, then we've found as well, this is very effective, if you can call 2 days before. So call every person that's coming to that class 2 days before the class. Just again, very natural, talk about parking, talk about whatever you want. But the bottom line is you're just reminding them really in a lovely way about the class, because people do forget, they do. And then 2 hours before the class, you can text them and just say, oh, I have a little surprise for you at the class, really looking forward to seeing you. And this surprise doesn't really need to be very much at all. We make little raw chocolates, you can make something else at your class, anything at all. Food is usually a good one. People usually are not disappointed when they get some food. So that comes to the end of part 1 of effective sampling. And this is your homework. If you want to kind of keep on track and keep progressing at a good rate, is if you haven't already, buy a resource book and speak to your upline or whoever really. If you know some people using the books, then speak to them about which book, have a look at their books and see which book you would like to get. The Modern Essentials is more detailed, so it has lots of scientific references, has a more detailed introduction, and you go to kind of the one place really to look up the elements, and it lists all the elements there that you can kind of use for the and tells you the essential oils so that you can use for those elements. The Essential Life book has more pictures, an introduction that's detailed enough but a little bit more easier to follow, and then it has a summary of the elements, which is great. It's very simple, very easy to use, and then it refers you to another page for some more detail. So that's good, you need to get those. And then buy the Slight Edge and start reading it. I strongly recommend that. Buy A to Z booklets from essentialoilsupplies.co.uk is the main site we use. But essentoils.co.uk also can sell resources. So get some A to Z booklets. They're really handy to have when you're sampling. They're like tiny little booklets that have lists of elements in them, and it's just a real simple booklet you can just show people to flick through when they're choosing what element they might like. It's really good. It opens their eyes as to what essentials can do without you having to tell them. That's really good. And then go to the DoTERRA University, as I showed you earlier, and do the live section. So just look at those things and look at the suggested resources that I also showed in this presentation. Okay, well, go do it and good luck with it all, and I'll see you in part 2 of effective sampling. I'm going to stop sharing.